The Orion Colosseum hovered above the fractured world of Arkall like a crown forged for a tyrant, rings of alloy, shimmering banners, and a lattice of containment fields pulsing with alien symbols. Shuttles drifted between docking spokes as thousands of spectators poured in, eager for the spectacle promised by tradition, the dismantling of a new species. Most came expecting mockery disguised as justice. Few expected anything resembling a challenge. Commander Elias Kane heard the crowd long before he stepped into the light. Their voices seeped through the metal corridors, sharp, layered, echoing off the walls with a rhythmic pulse. Hunger, not curiosity, drove those voices. He recognized the tone, predators waiting for blood. Still, his stride stayed steady. His breathing remained slow and controlled. He had walked into worse. A guard beside him, a Varkalian with mottled skin and ridged eyelids, glanced down with a sneer. "Human, do you comprehend the purpose of this trial?" Kane answered without shifting his focus. "I understand perfectly." The guard scoffed, but there was something else behind it, unease. Humans were new, unpredictable. And unpredictability agitated creatures who believed themselves superior. Kane continued forward. A memory flickered, not sentimental, not nostalgic, just a clean flash of mission briefing rooms filled with tension. Earth stood on the edge of forced subjugation. The Galactic Council had listed humanity as unverified, a polite way of calling them primitive. The only path to recognition was victory in a ritual combat trial designed to judge a species' resilience. Most species sent engineered champions or bred soldiers created specifically for the arena. Humanity sent one volunteer. He had stepped forward long before names were drawn. No augmentations. No genetic upgrades. No implants. Just a Navy SEAL carrying every lesson carved into him by years of unforgiving training. Not because he believed he was invincible, because someone had to stand without hesitation. The corridor opened to a vast gate etched with runic symbols. Energy veins pulsed through it like arteries. Beyond it, he heard the audience hush, as though inhaling together. A booming voice filled the arena. Warlord Dravkor. "Behold, citizens of the Orion Reach! Today, we welcome a species so young that its own star charts barely extend past their fragile moon. A species that dares claim sovereignty without proving its worth." His tone curled with contempt. "Humanity sends us, this lone warrior. No enhancements. No bonded beast. No armor. Only arrogance." Kane cracked his neck once, then stepped forward as the gates groaned open. Light exploded across his vision. The arena unfolded like an amphitheater forged inside a dying sun, tiered seats, massive screens, shifting terrain plates forming cliffs and trenches, pillars humming with stored kinetic energy. The air smelled faintly metallic, tinged with the ozone of activated barriers. The crowd leaned forward, whispering in dozens of dialects. Kane stepped into the center and surveyed everything with methodical calm. No theatrics. No posturing. Just assessment. Height of platforms. Distance of walls. Composition of terrain. Patterns of movement in the energy pillars. Every detail mattered. High Warlord Dravkor materialized above the central spire, a towering figure draped in ceremonial armor threaded with crimson conduits. His eyes glowed faintly under the visor. "Human," Dravkor said, voice dropping into a predatory growl. "Your species claims independence. Earn it." Kane lifted his gaze. "You talk too much." Ripples passed through the audience. Several alien dignitaries leaned forward, startled by the bluntness. Even Dravkor paused, his expression tightening. "Very well," the warlord snapped. "Let the culling begin." The eastern gate slammed open. Dust lifted across the arena floor as a low rumble rolled out. The Ashran predator emerged, 6 limbs, bronze scales layered like forged plates, toxin sacs pulsing along its throat. Its eyes glowed with a cold, engineered intelligence. Kane exhaled once. "Okay, big guy. Let's see what you've got." The predator lunged. Kane shifted left instantly, boots scraping against the sand as the creature's talons ripped into the ground where he had stood. He felt the displacement of air, the exact weight of the impact. He used it. The predator spun, jaws sparking with bioelectric charge. Cain rolled beneath it, sprang to his feet, and struck the joint behind its forward limb, testing. The creature staggered half a step. Good. That joint wasn't reinforced. The predator pivoted, tail lashing toward him like a blade. Cain ducked, grabbed a broken shard of the terrain plate, and angled it precisely. The tail slammed into the shard, splintering it but slowing itself enough that Cain closed in again. He shoved his shoulder into the beast's flank, drove his elbow up under the reinforced ridge, and twisted. The creature shrieked, electricity crackling uncontrolled across its scales. Cain used the momentum, redirected its charge into a nearby energy pillar. The impact destabilized the creature and blew out its toxin glands. A final twist sent the predator collapsing into the sand, twitching once before falling still. The Colosseum fell into stunned silence. Cain stepped back, breathing controlled, hands steady. Dravkor's voice sharpened. "Begin Wave 2!" 3 gates exploded open. A seismic quadruped stomped forward, shaking the ground with each step. A chameleon predator shimmered into view, distortions rippling around its outline. Above, a venomous serpent glided on membrane wings, dripping toxin from retractable fangs. Cain whispered to himself. 3 angles. No problem. The serpent dove first. Cain sprinted toward the seismic beast, using its mass as cover as the serpent's venom blasted against its armor plating. The seismic beast roared, disoriented by the hit. Cain slid beneath its underbelly, cutting through the softer plating with the shard he had lifted earlier. The beast collapsed, shaking the ground again. The serpent swooped back. Cain snatched its tail mid-pass, letting its own momentum reel it downward. He slammed it against the ridge, rupturing its venom sac. The toxin sprayed outward just as the shimmer chameleon pounced. The chameleon hit the toxin cloud before reaching Cain, convulsed violently, then fell limp. The audience erupted into bewildered cries. Cain wiped his forearm once, then looked up at the warlord. "Still talking?" he asked calmly. Dravkor stared down, jaw tight. "You have survived the first stage," he growled. "Do not celebrate. You have not seen true fear yet." Cain tightened a makeshift bandage around a cut on his shoulder. "Round 1's done," he murmured. "Let's move on." The arena lights dimmed. The ground shifted again. And far beneath the metallic plates, something enormous began to stir. The air shifted as the arena plates dropped, lifted, and rotated into new formations. Cain steadied himself while the terrain morphed beneath his boots. Jagged ridges thrust upward like broken fangs. Sand funnels swirled into maelstrom. Energy veins hummed across the ground, forming unstable pathways. Warlord Dravkor appeared again above the central spire, armor glowing brighter than before. His expression, once amused, had curdled into something harsher. "Human," he said, voice echoing through amplified resonance. "Your luck ends now. Let the arena shape your fate." Magnetic field surged, pulling shards of alloy into violent orbit. Razor wind cyclones sliced through the upper air, scattering grit over Cain's skin. The crowd roared at the sight of the arena's transformation. This phase had ended entire platoons from other species. Cain crouched slightly to anchor his center of gravity. He tested the sand with a light step, noting where it shifted more aggressively. The metallic shards rotating above him traced unpredictable arcs. He timed them, memorizing patterns. A gust caught him from the side, forcing him to adjust. The air smelled charged, as if a storm was forming under the arena surface. "Cute trick," he muttered. Another cyclone drifted dangerously close. Cain dashed sideways, using a low ridge as a shield. The wind tore pieces off the ridge's edge, slicing the fragments clean through. He waited until the cyclone passed, then slipped out and moved toward a cluster of columns. Spectators leaned forward in disbelief. The hazards weren't meant to be navigated, they were meant to overwhelm. Cain reached the nearest pillar and pressed a hand to its vibrating surface. Heat radiated from within. He judged the pulse patterns and stepped back, calculating the safest intervals to cross the path between two shifting plates. He sprinted on the third pulse. The ground collapsed 2 steps behind him, forming a pit lined with metallic teeth. He didn't look back. Instead, he vaulted over a twisting ridge, using momentum to leap across another unstable section. His landing was firm, barely. A heavy clang echoed as a new gate opened. The sound wasn't a roar. It was a tremor. The monarch behemoth stepped into the arena. Its presence alone silenced the stadium. The creature towered over the terrain, armored plates layered like continental shelves. Each exhale sent dust swirling. Its eyes glowed with a deep amber hue, sentient, ancient, unwavering. Cain exhaled slowly. That's new. The behemoth advanced 1 ponderous step. The ground shook. A second step followed, heavier, accompanied by a low resonance that vibrated Cain's chest. The arena hazards calmed as though the creature's presence overpowered the environment itself. From above, Dravkor raised his voice. This is the monarch of the Colosseum. It recognizes no equal. It has killed champions from every major empire. Prepare yourself. Cain didn't move. He locked eyes with the behemoth. The creature halted, nostrils flaring, tasting the air. Muscles shifted beneath its armored layers. Its forelimb tensed, preparing to strike. But then, it stopped. The creature's gaze settled on him, long, searching, almost curious. Cain didn't blink. A breath passed. Another. The silence deepened until even the magnetic hum of the arena faded. Then the behemoth lowered its head. The audience gasped as one. No record in the Colosseum archives held such an anomaly. The monarch bowed to no one, not even handlers. Dravkor surged forward, gripping the railing. Impossible! His voice cracked. Cain stepped forward cautiously, reading the behemoth's posture. The creature's massive shoulders slouched, not submissive, but respectful. It recognized something in him. Not dominance through aggression. Not fear. Something steadier. I'm not your enemy, Cain said quietly. He didn't touch the creature. He didn't need to. The behemoth's breathing slowed, then it stepped aside, granting him a clear path across the terrain. The crowd erupted into bewildered conversation. Dravkor slammed a fist against his console. You dare refuse combat? The arena demands blood. Cain glanced up. Maybe try earning respect instead of forcing it. A dangerous silence fell over the stands. Dravkor's armor flared brighter, anger radiating from every line of his posture. Enough, the warlord roared. Release the sovereign. A new gate slid open, not with force, but with a cold whisper. The temperature dropped. Shadows thickened. The arena lights dimmed as though overwhelmed by a growing psychic weight. The Mindran sovereign drifted into view. It moved without touching the ground, limbs extended like elongated talons, eyes empty black voids shimmering with distorted reflections. Its very presence strained thought. Cain felt a pressure against his skull, like memories pulling apart. The first mental strike hit him before he could draw a breath. His vision shattered into fragments, faces of teammates lost in previous missions, echoes of guilt weaponized and sharpened. He staggered, clenching his jaw as the sovereign's influence pressed deeper, searching for anchors to twist. Cain forced himself to breathe deliberately. He swept through memories not as wounds, but as reminders of why he refused to break. You don't get to use them against me, he whispered. The sovereign's eyes brightened, pushing harder. Illusions layered over one another, disorienting images, phantom voices, flashes of battles where he had been too late. Cain dropped to one knee but planted a hand firmly on the ground to steady himself. He inhaled again, slower, pulling himself back into the present. The arena. The sovereign. The fight. His mission. A voice echoed in his mind, calm, familiar, commanding. Steady yourself, Cain. It wasn't real. But he let the memory strengthen him anyway. Training wasn't just muscle and reflex. It was mental endurance, built to withstand moments like this. He rose slowly. The sovereign recoiled as though struck by something unseen. Cain advanced one step at a time, cutting through the psychic fog with sheer focused will. Each movement was deliberate, steady. The Sovereign's projections flickered, weakening. Its void-like eyes widened. "You picked the wrong species for this game," Kane said. The Sovereign trembled. Its limbs folded inward as its hovering form dipped lower. Its head tilted down, not striking, but bowing. The crowd fell into stunned silence. 2 Colosseum apex creatures had yielded in a single trial. Dravkor stared down, expression frozen. His authority cracked like thin glass. Even the guards exchanged wary looks. Kane straightened his posture, breathing steady. He wiped a thin line of blood from his eyebrow where the pressure had burst a vessel. "Seems your arena's starting to think for itself," he said calmly. Dravkor's voice shook with rage. "You manipulate them. No beast would bow to a lesser creature." Kane tilted his head. "Maybe stop assuming we're lesser." The monarch behemoth rumbled from across the field, a sound not of aggression, but agreement. The Sovereign followed with a low harmonic vibration. The entire arena seemed to shift tone, as though an ancient rule had awakened. Dravkor leaned forward, trembling. "This is not possible." Kane met his stare. "You wanted a trial. You didn't expect a response." A murmur spread through the stands, a mix of awe and fear. Species who had long believed themselves superior were forced to reconsider. Kane placed his hands on his hips, scanning the terrain as the arena recalibrated. His heartbeat slowed back into cadence. "They're starting to understand," he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Lights dimmed again. A low alarm echoed through the Colosseum. Dravkor, consumed by humiliation, prepared his final move. The next round would not be a trial. It would be a reckoning. The warning sirens cut through the arena with a metallic shriek. Red glyphs flashed across every screen. Spectators leaned forward, sensing a violation of tradition. Even the monarch behemoth lifted its head, uneasy. High Warlord Dravkor stepped onto the projection platform above the central spire, armor crackling with stored energy. His voice thundered across the amphitheater. "Enough of this farce. If the beasts refuse to kill the human, then all of them shall be unleashed together. Let instinct decide who survives." The crowd erupted into confusion. Some shouted approval, others horror. The arena gates, every single one, began to open. Heavy locks disengaged. Hydraulic plates groaned under the strain. Kane's expression stayed calm, though he adjusted his stance subtly. His mind never drifted to fear, it settled into the steady readiness born from years of walking into unwinnable situations. Dust clouds rose as the first creatures stampeded out, titan serpents with armored coils, biomex lined with plasma scales, razor-backed quadrupeds, winged horrors that cast wide shadows. Dozens poured in, then hundreds. They layered the terrain in moving walls of muscle and metal. Kane exhaled once. "So that's the game." The stadium trembled under the collective weight. Creatures roared, hissed, clattered, beat their wings, and slithered across the terrain. They circled Kane like storm fronts converging on a single point. Dravkor leaned over the railing, hatred burning through his visor. "Let them erase your kind from history." Kane rolled his shoulders back, kept his chin level, and set his feet firmly. He didn't raise his fists. He didn't run. He simply stood, balanced and resolute. His pulse steadied. His breathing deepened. The nearest titan serpent lunged forward, massive head rearing above the ridges. The audience braced for the kill. But the serpent halted 2 meters away, eyes fixed on Kane. Then, its head dipped. A wave of stunned silence rippled through the Colosseum. Kane held its gaze, unblinking. Another creature approached, a biomech with glowing furnace vents along its spine. It scanned him, vents flickering. Its jaws parted, then slowly closed. Its metallic legs folded. It knelt. Murmurs spread through the spectators, rising into a swell of disbelief. A third creature approached, a mantis-like apex hunter, scythe arms glinting. It studied the kneeling biomech, the lowered serpent, then turned its focus to Kane. Its antennae twitched. Its claws retracted. It bowed. The monarch behemoth rumbled a deep, resonant note. Then it strode forward, each step heavy enough to shake the arena. The circle of beasts parted instinctively, letting their monarch pass. The behemoth lowered itself fully until its armored chin nearly touched the ground before Cain. Cain drew a long breath, eyes steady. The stillness spread outward as more beasts arrived. One by one, they lowered themselves. Winged creatures folded their limbs. Serpents coiled into resting spirals. Biomechs powered down their weapons. Psychic predators dimmed their auras. Until the entire arena, every apex entity bred for war, lay bowed before him. Cain didn't move for several seconds. The weight of the moment settled around him like a mantle. He felt the air shift, charged not with hostility, but with recognition. Dravkor's voice cracked. "Stop this! Fight, you worthless creatures!" None obeyed. Not even those engineered for absolute aggression. "And oh!" the warlord screamed. "Not to him!" His gauntlet fist slammed into the console. Sparks exploded from the circuitry. Cain finally spoke. "They're making their choice." Dravkor trembled, disbelief turning into panic. "You cannot command beasts. You are a lower life form." Cain tilted his head upward. "Maybe they disagree." The crowd murmured again, but this time the tone had shifted. All blended with something approaching reverence. One spectator, an elder of the Varkol tribes, rose slowly from his seat. "Warlord," the elder said, voice carrying across the arena, "our laws are clear. If the beasts yield, the challenger stands victorious." "No!" Dravkor roared. This is manipulation." "It is instinct," the elder countered. "And instinct does not lie." The guards posted around Dravkor hesitated. Their hands loosened on their weapons. Their eyes drifted to the creatures below, a living ocean bowing to one man. Some guards stepped away from the warlord instinctively, no longer certain they served the rightful authority. Cain stepped forward, walking through the path created by kneeling creatures. The ground trembled under him, not from threat, but from immense bodies steadying themselves in deference. He stopped at the center of the arena, directly beneath the warlord's platform. He spoke loudly, but without force. "Humanity doesn't kneel. We don't exist to be judged by empires built on fear. We stand on our own terms." The monarch behemoth released a low, reverent rumble. Cain continued, "This trial was meant to determine our place in the galaxy. The answer is right in front of you." Dravkor's armor flared violently. "You dare claim authority? You are nothing!" Cain's voice stayed level. "I didn't claim it. They did." The arena fell into a crushing silence. The elder turned his gaze to the assembled council members in the upper tiers. "The ruling is clear. Humanity is sovereign." Dravkor slammed his fist again, sparks erupting. "I refuse!" The monarch behemoth rose to full height, towering over the arena. It bellowed, a sound that shook dust from the rafters and cracked several tiles. Smaller beasts echoed the roar. Biomechs strobed with warning lights. Winged predators snapped their jaws. The message was unmistakable. Cain looked up one final time. "It's over." Dravkor's defiance finally broke. The warlord staggered back, armor dimming. His guards seized him, no longer loyal. He struggled, shouting incoherently, but his authority had collapsed. The council elder raised a ceremonial staff. "Humanity earns its place among the recognized sovereign species of the Orion Reach. Let this day stand through all ages." The arena erupted, not with bloodlust, but with thunderous applause that spanned dozens of species. Many had never imagined they would cheer for a human. Cain stood quietly, absorbing none of the celebration. For him, the trial ended the moment he chose to walk forward unarmed. Everything after that had simply followed its inevitable course. He turned away from the warlord's platform and walked through the bowed beasts. They cleared a path instinctively. The monarch behemoth rumbled farewell, then stepped aside. As Cain neared the exit tunnel, cameras followed him. His silhouette burned across screens in every major system, carrying a message far bigger than any single man. A final gust swept through the arena, carrying the echoes of roaring beasts behind him. He paused at the threshold, glanced once over his shoulder, and let out a calm breath. "One man walked in," he said softly. "But humanity walked out." Then he stepped into the shadows, leaving a shaken galaxy to make sense of what had just occurred.